What's up, people? Hope you're having a great day. I'm sure you are, because by the time this video is out, the final episode of TADC has been posted on the YouTube. I thankfully got the luxury of watching it in theaters, and boy, do I have a lot to say. In this video, I'll be giving a review of the episode, what I liked, disliked, and if it does its job as a finale. So obvious spoiler warnings there, which, if you haven't watched it yet, what are you waiting for? It's on YouTube. This is also my review and my opinion. You're welcome to disagree, but please do so respectfully. Now off we go! TADC, The Last Act, has a perfect combination of deep and unhinged humor. There were moments where me and the audience were laughing. Like seriously, I quote reality gay daily. The movie also has its fair share of emotional scenes. The beginning scene especially made me want to hug all the characters. It was extremely heartfelt. You can feel every emotion that's in that scene. And we've known these characters for 3 years, and as a result, we can truly feel for them, which just adds to the emotion of the film. Another scene that tugged on my heartstrings in a more happy way was the scene where everyone moved Jax to the little makeshift circus. It's really sweet seeing everyone work together to give Jax one last moment of peace and offer him some sympathy, despite everything he's done. The little sequence was brought to life by the song Isn't She Lovely playing in the background. Speaking of, the music used in this episode was stellar. It does an amazing job of bringing the emotion to life in its given scene. My favorite soundtrack has to be Your New Life. That whole sequence was exactly what I wanted to see the series end. Like, on the nose, detail to detail. The music is peak, the animation and visuals are peak. It just all sounds good and fits in with the finale type mood. It also does a good job at making me rain waterfalls on the inside. And of course, the voice acting is amazing as always. Lots of emotion and lots of energy, no complaints there.
Why am I such an idiot? Why am I such an idiot? Why am I such an idiot?
Next, the visuals, like the soundtracks, do a great job at highlighting the mood. The lighting is perfectly in sync with the given scene. Like the beginning, for example. It highlights a feeling of emptiness and hopelessness the characters are feeling. The locations look really beautiful, one of my favorites being Ribbit's room. My favorite scene visuals-wise has to be the scene where Pomni encounters the real Jax in the Black Void. It's beautiful and empowers this big teary-eyed moment, especially the rippling floors whenever their tears fall down. Just amazing, 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10. Next, we finally get to meet Ribbit and KMODO. For the little screen time they have, they're really memorable and likable characters. The 3 of them just reminded me of my own friend group low-key. Ribbit in particular has such a sweet personality, design, and voice, which reminded me of Sunset Shimmer for some reason.
Your secret's safe with me.
She's just this really awesome character, did not deserve to be done dirty like that. Fun fact, my friend who I went to go to the theaters with, never seen the show before, and like her second favorite character besides Jax was Ribbit, which I don't blame her, hey, she's awesome. I love her. Moving on, the main message Gooseworx wanted to portray of finding meaning in a stagnant life was well portrayed. The characters managed to make a life they're proud of inside something that they can get out of or change. For example, Zuvo making their own bar and getting dirty with Gangle, Ragatha excelling at softball, and King adapting to a normal life. I thought it was beautiful and the perfect way to end the series. Also, the little wave Pomni gives at the end is like a little kiss on the cheek, so bonus points for that. As well as some more tears. Finally, I'm getting to my last 2 points. We'll start with both the worst and best part of this episode, Jax. We learn a lot about Jax. We learn about her absent father, her berating mother, who she pushed after a fight, her descent into homelessness, and then her entering the circus. In the circus, her, Ribbit, and KMODO were basically just like a trio. Until she told Ribbit about her past and her identity problems and was caught being vulnerable. She then pulled in episode 6 and completely stopped talking to Ribbit. Ribbit comes up to her during an adventure and asks her desperately what she did wrong. They have an argument, Jax pulls another episode 6, and they never talk again. And the rest is history. After her abstraction, she basically doesn't come to Kaufmo either. Jax just treats Kaufmo like a lunatic, which also causes him to abstract.
After Ribbit's abstraction, she basically just becomes a huge dingus to everyone else, including Ragatha and Gangle, who literally just entered the circus. Hell, she even named her that as a way to mock her. Poor Gangle's circus life has been hell from the start, bro.
This entire sequence is really important. We learn about Jax's IRL life, her past relationships, specifically with the trio and Ragatha, what she did after seeing Kaufmo abstract, and Jax being trans femme. Or at least I think that's what that scene was implying. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure the Isn't She Lovely sequence confirms it.
We also see all of Jax's coping mechanisms, or masks, as many people like to call it. His violence, his cartoony side, and I don't really know what Mate Jax is supposed to represent. My guess is probably his apathetic side. From the way it acts, I think it's supposed to be the side of Jax that tries to be sassy and non-considerate. You know, the I don't care about you or anyone else in the circus in the slightest kind of Jax.
I'm wearing it ironically. That way it shows truly just how little I care.
Or it could just be her struggle with her gender, who knows. We also see a Jax that plays the piano and is chained up. This Jax is soft-spoken, like evil Jax. I think this is the Jax that the real Jax tries to hide away from everyone. A Jax who's soft and vulnerable, something her mother told her is wrong. This scene is really amazing because I don't think I've ever seen anything like it in a show, besides maybe Gravity Falls when the group enters Stan's mind. It's a unique and clever way to show how Jax thinks, as well as the many layers he uses to hide his true feelings. It also really made me appreciate Jax as a character. He's very complex and pretty interesting. Not the most interesting character in the show, but interesting nonetheless. Alongside that, it gives the show a lot of rewatch value, seeing all the foreshadowing and hints sprinkled into Jackson's scenes.
For example, Jax looking at her hand after she pushes Pomni in episode 6, the empathetic look she gives Ragatha after she talks about her mom in episode 5, and her reaction to the maid dressed in Evil Jax in the same episode, just to name a few.
A lot of people also related to Jax's insecurities and connected to her. As someone who's felt the same way about other fictional characters, I feel like this is really sweet to see. Next, I really want to talk about Jax's abstraction. I might get thrown into the meat grinder by Jax's e-kittens, but I don't care. Guys, Jax's abstraction and her entire arc in this episode is perfect. One of my favorite character arcs in the show. I was worried they were gonna make Jax have this last minute redemption arc, but no. I was taken off guard by her abstraction, not gonna lie. She had it coming though, let's be real. It shows us what happens when you repeatedly take your problems out on others instead of actually talking about them. Jax had every opportunity to change. She had Ribbit and Pomni, two very loyal and very compassionate people, right by her side, and she chose to turn them away. And at that, she chose to be completely toxic to them, the second they tried to offer him any help. She even led two of her friends to abstract. Her abstraction was just the inevitable result. I also love how Pomni didn't turn Jax back at the end. A lot of people got mad that she decided to follow Kinger and not Jax, but I see this as character growth. Speaking from personal experience, you can't keep chasing after a person and begging them to change if they don't want to do it themselves. It'll mentally exhaust you, and with a person as destructive as Jax, it'll actively harm your well-being. It's kind of like what Kinger says in episode 6.
Sometimes it doesn't make sense to do all the heavy lifting when the other isn't in the mood. As long as you're still there when they need you. Giving someone space should never be the same as giving up on them.
Hi, Future Luann here. I'm rewatching this finale right now, and Jax's sudden abstraction hits a lot harder than it did in the theater. Jax was just about to finally talk things out with Pomni, but then immediately pulls back and Pomni just watches her go. And then the next scene, she's an abstracted creature while everyone just watches in utter shock. This is a very emotional and impactful scene that I am now just appreciating. It's like in the snap of a finger, she's abstracted with no way of helping her. The feeling of grief from each character is evident and makes her abstraction hit a lot harder, even if I wasn't a fan of Jax. From Zubal's anger towards her, to Gango's struggle to cry for her, and Ragatha blaming herself actually made my eyes kind of water. Anyways, back to the present.
Last but not least, I want to talk about Kane. I do love that Kane's like a what if Jax didn't let his anger influence his actions kind of character. He releases the blue AI, thus releasing all his envy, and starts forging his own path. He learns about the humans, about their lives, and how to not torture them. His evolution scene is really cool and really weirdly symbolic, and I was just legit clutching onto my Kane plushie, just cheering him on. He even shares the characters' real identities as a way to apologize. We finally get to know who they really are, and we see that they've overcome their struggles and are living better lives, thus adding to the central theme of the show. And that pretty much sums up all the things I loved about this episode. Now, let's move on to... Remember how I said Jax is both the best and worst part of the finale? Yeah, I'm sure most of you can assume why that's the case. This is basically just the Jax and Kane movie. Jax takes up a majority of the screen time and takes away from all the other characters' development and closure, including Pomni's, the freaking main character. We should have gotten more time with each individual character and how they're feeling about Kane being gone and Jax's abstraction. Each character should have gotten an equal amount of screen time to give them a satisfying ending, especially Ragatha. Like, I can seriously not stress this enough. Micro was done dirty in the last few episodes. She had so much potential, and we were even reassured that she would get more development, but that just simply doesn't happen. I mean, I guess we could say her and Pomni having a heart-to-heart, and Rags telling her she's the best thing that's ever happened to her, and them sharing a long embrace that definitely set the shippers off as development, if we even want to call it that. I'm sorry, the scene itself is very emotionally beautiful, but it just doesn't feel believable nor earned. Count the amount of times Pomni and Ragatha have had full-fledged conversations on screen. Okay, now count the times Pomni and Jax have had them. I'm sure there's a major difference. The other characters are carelessly thrown to the side as well. Kinger is used as more of a plot device than an actual character. My poor boy. And Zubul and Gangle are literally nothing without Abstraction. Like, I want to hold on to something other than their ship, but with the little focus they get after their designated episode, that makes that almost impossible. Also, I feel like the story slightly depends on the audience feeling sympathy for Jax in order for it to really hit. Not gonna like the scene where Pomni sees a real Jax and like they embrace and stuff, it was beautiful, but it didn't really hit me as hard since I don't really like Jax all that much. I mean, I think he's a cool character, but like I don't like him at the same time, and like I don't feel bad for him. And if you don't feel bad for him, it's really hard to like watch these scenes and feel emotional. Like, I'm sure the Jax haters and the people who like hate her like with their entire guts, yeah, they did not like this episode. I can already tell. Next, I want to talk about how a lot of the shock and stuff is rushed. In this episode, we learn that the characters are actually clones from brain scans of their actual human mind. Yes, we do get a brief scene of them breaking down in the beginning, which is very emotional. However, I feel like a bit more existential crisis. The characters asking questions like, did any of this here matter? Would have added more emotional weight, as well as more build up to the ending. Another example of this issue is when Ken returns. It's good that the cast decided to forgive him after he's changed, but I do feel like it's a bit rushed. I mean, we know what Kane's true intentions and thought process was, but they don't fully know that. And he did put them through a lot of physical and mental pain. A bit more time to maybe weigh their options would have been a bit more realistic. My final example of this issue is Gangle's emotions. and how they're kind of just brushed to the side and have only like 2 minutes dedicated to them. I was really interested in what she felt about Jax's abstraction, considering she was her abuser. And I like that she can't shed tears for him. I thought it was very realistic and very touching. But that's pretty much all we get. Just that and Zubul just saying a few words to her. This next criticism is kind of a nitpick, but it really sucks that we didn't get to see more of Ribbit, Cosmo, Scratch, and the rest of the abstracted characters. Not only in the finale, but the full series. Cosmo gets barely any screen time alongside Ribbit, which sucks because I wanted to see more of him since the pilot, and we know little to nothing about Scratch and the other devs. This might be a bigger issue for me since I'm obsessed with flashback episodes and background lore, but I've heard some fans say the same thing, so yeah, huge bummer. Alright, finally we get to Kanan's return. His return featuring no real satisfying explanation and being left to fans' interpretation gives off similar vibes to V's return from Murder Drones. They're happy he's back, but you're wondering how, and it just removes all the emotion to episode 8's ending. Also, another nitpick, sorry, but with the scene where Scratch spawns back into the circus, I think it was supposed to be a flashback, but I and many other people thought he just spawned in for real, which is really confusing, so I feel like they could have made it clearer that this was a flashback and not like the actual Scratch. Lastly, the episode just brings up a lot of questions that were never really answered in the end. For example, where the heck is Bubble? Who or what exactly is the Blue AI? What exactly is abstraction, and why can't it be reversed? Now, my original theory while I was watching the movie is that Bubble is the Blue AI, which is why Kane said,
all this power we had together. But we just can't exist like this. I'll miss you.
but Bubble does refer to the other AI as a separate entity from him in episode 8.
You really were the lesser of the two.
So I don't know, bro. I'm confuzzled. But back to what I was just saying for a second. It's okay, and sometimes even good in some cases, to leave things unanswered in your show. It gives the audience something to remember your show by. And some unanswered questions can be left for the audience to headcanon, like the origins of how everyone got in the circus, or what would happen if Jax held her breath. However, ignoring fundamental questions that help your audience understand your story, like in this case, the Blue AI or Abstraction, it just makes your audience feel more confused instead of intrigued. This episode does things that make up a textbook good finale. It executes its main message perfectly and gives the audience a clear mood that fits. The episode has tense and solemn moments, while also sharing feelings of heartwarmth and clarity, and balancing some humor. There is also some cool callbacks from previous episodes, like Pomni pulling out the gun that she had in episode 6, which is always a treat, and a real tearjerker for most fans. How the finale handles some of its characters is also well executed. We learn more about Jax and tie up her, Kane's, and Pomni's character arcs in a cute little bow. Like I said earlier, it's cool that Kane and Jax are kind of like foils to each other. It's a really good choice narrative-wise, and it just gives out this message of you have to choose to truly change in order to receive redemption. I also like how they did Pomni's character arc. Although it becomes less of a focus later on in the series, I do really like it. She starts from like this self-serving person who's anxious and desperately wants to leave and doesn't know if anything around her is real, to someone who accepts her reality, and instead of shying away from everyone, she lets them in. She helps them, and she gives everyone a fair chance, even Jax. And that's really beautiful, I really like it. The other characters, however, don't get the same satisfactory endings or closures to their arcs. They get very little focus, too little to really do anything effective. Zubul and Gangle only get a few lines, which are meaningful, but don't hold power because of the lack of focus they get. Kinger is just there to move the plot forward, which is a huge letdown considering how interesting of a character Kinger is. And the only thing we really get from Ragatha is that big emotional embrace with Pomni, which doesn't work because the show doesn't build up to it properly. When it comes to tying loose ends, yeah, that's probably the weakest point of this episode. To reiterate, we still don't know anything about Scratch and the Blue AI. Abstraction is also a poorly explained concept in the show. After episode 1, it's kind of just forgotten and never touched again until episodes 7 and 9. The finale was the perfect opportunity to explain what it is and why it can't be undone, but unfortunately, it misses the mark on that. As a finale, it isn't bad, but it definitely isn't finale of the year. I'd say it's okay. It concludes the story and some of its characters, yes, but a lot of the unanswered questions and character writing flaws really bring it down. TADC, The Last Act, was an overall pretty good episode, while being a decent finale. It got what it wanted out there, but it could have hit a lot harder if the movie was longer and focused more on the other characters and answering our questions. I'm grateful for the show we did get though. A lot of time and effort was clearly put in, and I just want to thank Glitch, Gooseworx, and everyone else involved in the creation of the Amazing Digital Circus. It's been an amazing and impactful 3 years, and I'm glad to have watched the show while it was being produced. Thank you. And thank you, yes you, for watching. See y'all on the flip side. Peace.
Congratulations!
All of my friends.